Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to my talk. Today I'm going to be talking about how to scale DApps. So I saw a tweet recently saying the word DApps is dead now. So that's new news to me. But DApps are decentralized applications. It's what these are all about. It's what we're all using here in the space. Awesome. And I'm going to be talking about how to go from the hackathon stage to 1 million users. Really specific, right? Well, that's because I did this. I did this alone, and I did this bootstrapped within the last year. I'm going to go over today how you can do something similar, or how you can apply these principles to whatever it is you're growing, caring about, building. So what are the launch problems that all of us face? I'm going to stand on this side because all the text is on that side. So when we're launching something new, the Web3 space, it's really crowded. There's a lot of stuff out there right now. There's the NFT boom, there's the price boom, and it makes it really loud. So we want to avoid this. You don't want to launch into the crowded market and just blend in and disappear and be forgotten. It's a waste of all of your effort. You also don't want to make something that's confusing. The crypto space can be confusing. It can be difficult for newcomers. So what you build needs to make sense. It needs to work quickly and well for the people who give you an opportunity and check out your site or your app or your protocol. And then last is unscalable. Let's say you were actually lucky enough to create something that got some eyes on it. You stood apart from the crowd. It wasn't very confusing. People got to be able to use it, but then it collapsed quickly because it wasn't scalable. It wasn't built out for as many users as you got. Now that's the best problem of all these to have, because it means if you just tweak your scalability, you can support all these users. And in the end, the thing that we're really just trying to avoid is a failure to launch. So when you create anything that you care about in the Web3 space, it takes a lot of effort, takes a lot of time, and you don't want to fail, right? So there's a couple basic things you can do in order to be more successful, and that's what we're going to be going over today. So the first tip I can think of, easy to use. We're going to go over how to make your products easy to use. How's it going to stand out? How's it going to stand out from the massive crowd that's already in crypto? How do we make it welcoming? So how is this something that is friendly and maybe has a community as well? So something that people can get plugged into and have fun with for the long term. So who am I? I'm Dawson. I'm dos.eth on ENS, but also on Twitter. I'll have a QR at the end as well for some of my contact information. But I'm a founder, I'm a developer, I'm a product guy. So what we're going to be talking about here is a lot of product stuff. So it's not just for developers. It's for anyone who's building anything that they want other people to care about. I'm also a hackathon veteran, so I've been to over 30 hackathons. So I really understand how to do well, how to judge. And that's actually the secret to the start of my story here, is nailing a hackathon and how to win a hackathon. Because that's actually something that would be, it's applicable to how to grow your company and how to make a great company as well. So what is my company? It's called Earnify. So Earnify is the airdrop checker. You may have seen it or used it before. It's an email notification service, and it's a single text box to check your address for over 1,000 airdrops within 5 seconds. And what we're talking about really is how to go from a hackathon to over $500 million in airdrops. So $500 million is the amount of money people have found through Earnify. And I'm using this as an example. So the entire talk today, yes, it's about my company, but really it's also about how you can respond to certain triggers in the market and grow your company, gain more subscribers, whatnot. So yes, we're talking about Earnify, but I'm not here to just be talking about my company. I'm walking through the historical stages that I did, but you can respond to traffic on the things that you care about in the same way. So here's the very start of this story. I made this tweet right at the end of the ETH Global Hackathon back in February 2021. And I'm just announcing this product, okay? It's called Claimable. It's a single text input. You put in your address, and maybe you have money waiting for you, right? So this is the very first learning point and the very first launching of what I did and what you can try too. Use Twitter to plug into the crypto community. A lot of people in crypto look for stuff on Twitter. And if you just post something juicy, you've got some fun emojis, maybe you've got some images or GIFs, you can actually get a lot of traffic on this. So this one right here, it had 209 likes. At the time, I had 200 followers. So that's huge. That was already a lot of organic reach. And also what I'll be talking about today, I didn't mention this alone and bootstrapped, but also unpaid. So there's no paid marketing in anything I've done ever. And so that's what we're going to go over as well, is like, how do you hack your way to a great company, basically? So I made this tweet. Boom. OK, this is all it was. It said claimable. It was a text input. And there's not even pictures. There's just this like hideous dump of JSON data. So this user had a Uniswap airdrop, a 1-inch airdrop, and an unclaimed PWOP token. But I'm zooming in on this to show you, like, you don't have to be polished and perfect. Launch early and get feedback from people. But like when you do launch early, consider following some of these things. So the first success, there was no MetaMask wallet integration. So this is ironic because MetaMask just spoke. But what was really key and important in this first launch is it did not use MetaMask. So you did not need to authorize, which actually allowed a lot of people to use this who did not have a browser-based wallet set up. So this is the first key tip for everyone in every single application. The very first thing your website does is request MetaMask and GMI. Don't do that. Because there are a lot of people that are going to come to your site who do not have MetaMask. They may not even know what that is yet. And you still want to explain what you do, how you do it, and maybe get them to download MetaMask or a similar wallet to interact with your thing. So first thing to nail, make this quick and easy to use with no wallet integration. Next up, it was instant. So what I did right there, that page actually loaded in, when you put in your address, it showed you your airdrops within 1/10 of a second. So that was really hacky back then. All the data was just loaded on the front end when you visited. But something that works quickly. It's really hard to do in crypto. But if you can, you want to make whatever you do work really quickly. Because people coming from the Web 2 world are used to things working fast. The Web 2 world doesn't have the slow blockchain propagation, the block times we talked about earlier of 14 seconds. Like if you were to log in on Facebook and it took 14 seconds, or a random interval between 7 and 28 seconds, which is like the way Ethereum blocks propagate, that'd be a horrible user experience. Like 30 seconds waiting on something. So you want to mask over that complexity in any way that you can. Next one, it was one box. So I'll go back to it and show you again. So it was a single text input. There's not even a button to hit enter. So this was, when you build something, how can it be the absolute fastest process and the absolute cleanest process to get the result for your users? So my users, I wanted to show them some airdrops. And yeah, how do I show them? Well, I just need your address. So when this thing looks like a valid address, when it's the right length, just hit enter. So I did that all for, it's one less button click, and that actually leads to some drop-off. And that drop-off was avoided because of this. The last thing I mentioned already, I used Twitter, find your fans. You should consider using Twitter as well. There are other communities elsewhere, but Twitter is just an awesome one because you can get so much organic reach as someone who's not big yet. As I showed you, I got more likes than I even had followers. And then the last one is confetti. So this is like literally, there was confetti on the screen. So if you look here, there's this confetti falling. I mentioned this was actually the differentiating factor. When people saw the confetti, they were like, oh my gosh, this is a party. They were having fun with it. And this like fun factor is something that crypto and Web3 is all about. My shirt, it's like a ripoff of Wells Fargo. We're having fun here. We're here to like be silly and also like take over the world with better technology. Okay, but what fixes were needed? So obviously I told you that thing fell short. It was just a really simple text box. Well, where did it fall short? Now, I'm mentioning these things as when you launch things, think about these in these steps as well. What did you nail? What was good? Don't break that. So like, don't fix what's not broken. And then what was broken? What can you fix? So it was ugly. There's that like JSON object at the bottom. That's not like a production application. You wouldn't expect to see that anywhere on the internet unless you're a developer. The next thing is it wasn't sticky. Sticky as in addictive. So this is like a product term. People were not going to come back to this. It was like literally one text input. There's no header or footer. You didn't even know who made it. Like there was no Twitter linked anywhere. There was no email, anything. So these things now need to be fixed. So I noticed that after making this tweet, people were like, oh, how do I hear about more progress? There you go. Those are your customers telling you exactly what to build next. Well, they want to know, how can they hear about it again? So what did I do? I added pictures. There you go. So this change right here took like an extra hour or two because all these images are actually really easy to pull. If you need prices or images for any assets, go to CoinGecko. Unless it just launched and it's a tiny ERC20 token, across chain as well, not just on Ethereum, go to CoinGecko. You can grab their images. There's no blocking on their images, so you can import them and use them on anything, like on your sites as well. Linked directly from CoinGecko, so when a new airdrop launches, I can just drop that in there and it just works perfectly. So already, we've got the confetti and it's fun, and now we've got the images, and now all of a sudden, this was literally 3 hours in to my development on this product. 3 hours in, you've got this thing that's like, whoa. I mean, I had to search really for a long time to find this address because this person had a lot of airdrops. But like, wow, things are happening. And even if you're not into crypto and you don't really know what I'm showing you, you're like, wow, these are pretty images and colors, and like, I want to use this thing too. And that's what happened through Twitter as I'm saying this. People were talking underneath in that thread, like, wow, how do I get more airdrops? Wow. And then that's your stickiness already engaging. But to close the loop on stickiness, oh, also, like the first tweet where I jumped that JSON object, it had 200 likes. I was like, what if I just take that exact same tweet and make it a little bit prettier and then launch it with these images? Then get product feedback on this. And that one had 837 likes. Remember, I'm some random person on Twitter who has 200 likes at this point in history, and I get 2,000 likes within 24 hours, or 2,000 followers, sorry. So like, oh my gosh, I went from screaming to the void of, hey everyone, you should care about the stuff I code and build, to like, it's growing. And when this happens, if this ever happens to you on products, companies you work for, your own personal social media, just lean in, skip sleeping for a few days, and like figure out how to respond, because you can actually capture that and lead that into growth. If you don't capture it with having people follow you, joining an email, joining some type of like recurring system to inform them about your product, you might lose that traffic. So don't let the traffic fall off and go to be wasting. And now here I'm going to mention something technical, and this is kind of the rest of the talk, is we're hopping back and forth between products and technical things, because you actually have to balance both if you're launching something like this in the Web3 space. And so this talk will be relevant for both product people and developers. So something I did as I was adding those images is I resized them perfectly so that the page load was only the exact size of the image. Now, it sounds really obvious that like that an image like this, yeah, of course, like this is the size it always is. That's just how this page works. Well, if you resize this down in CSS, you've actually sent something over the wire that could be much larger. So you want to actually, on the front end, load the exact size of it. Now, these are all things we have to nail because of how slow Web3 can be. We need to do all of the Web2 optimizations to make our sites really fast. So I have Next.js here. That's a framework for front-end applications. They do it for you. I just have it there because like early on in this development journey, I picked some of the right technologies and I picked some of the wrong technologies. This is one of the right technologies. I still use it to this day with 1.8 million users. So the 1 million was an estimate at the beginning, but 1.8 million page views. It really, really scales. As a solo developer, consider Next.js if you know JavaScript. And here's like a really technical picture. It was like the first talk this morning of like, oh, here's a ton of code here. We're going to go through every line. What is display? No. So the point of this one is just to show you right here, this intrinsic size and rendered size. Make sure you're rendering stuff that's the same or really close to the same image size. If you're loading something intrinsic, let's say this was 1,000 by 1,000. It means we're sending something over the wire that is, there's some simple math here, 100 times larger than it should be, something like that. So don't do that. Okay, boom, we fixed the ugly, right? So there's images now. Now we need to fix the stickiness. How do we keep people coming back? Okay, so here's the next thing I added on this site. We've got some fun pink. It's still playful. It's still got but now there's this massive button, like obnoxiously massive. It's actually bigger than the whole point of the page is to put in your Ethereum address. So like you might actually think you have to submit your Ethereum address with this button, and that's kind of the purpose as well, is that it's showing people, it's closing this loop. And again, I made this still within the first 48 hours of launch. Basically, when that first tweet was popping off, I was like, oh no, what do I do next? What is like the next step you're supposed to do when your product starts to gain traction? And I was like, oh, I should probably get an email list. I found some random provider. I linked to it both. These go to the exact same place. This code change took an extra 15, 20 minutes. And boom, we're getting people now to be signed up for future airdrop notifications. That was never even the plan with what I was launching. I was submitting for a hackathon this little thing that was just checking you against Uniswap, 1inch, and a couple other airdrops. But now, this is closing the loop. So people are signing up to the email, to an email service that currently goes nowhere. There's no automation set up. It's just saved in a place where I can like go get it one day. And I'm going to reference this image a few times in the next slides. What was nailed and right and wrong about this change now? Well, so this button here, I said it's massive already. Yeah, that's good. It draws your attention to it. It's also bolded text. Notice how the text right here is not bold. Text right here is bold. Text right here is bold. That draws the user's eyes there. You've also got this really bright and playful color. You've got really solid color contrast. So this is like light on dark, black on pink. And then up here is underlined. So that it draws your eyes to the underline as well. So these are all UI changes that create a different user experience and then create more follow-up and stickiness for people clicking on things. Also, it's all above the fold. The page doesn't even have a fold. You can't scroll. There's nothing else. But above the fold really matters. What you put below the fold, which is as soon as you start to scroll, that's called below the fold. Whatever you put there will have a lot less engagement. So boom, what did it nail? It's bolded. Oh, there's a drop shadow. Glad I have this in the slide. There's a little drop shadow here you can't see. But it draws your eyes to this thinking it's a 3D, like a 3D element, which is just way more pleasurable for the eyes. Okay, boom, we fixed ugly. We fixed sticky in a little bit way. And now it comes time to submit for ETH Global. This is the online ETH hackathon that the whole thing was originally for. And I will always just make these little tweets where I'm like, hey guys, this is what I just shipped. And then usually it's 2 to 3 likes, and it's like something that then falls to the wayside. But it was gaining the traffic. And so then the ETH Global submission happened. And right now in this story, we're like 72 hours in to the story from that first tweet till now. So I submit to ETH Global, and I won ETH Global, which was awesome because ETH Global has a huge reach. Thank you. And then they sent out a tweet. And so I was like, amazing, more people coming to my Twitter, which now, oh geez, I need to add like link to my product in my Twitter. And then, yeah, make sure that the website still is up. These are things that are happening in the background on all of this, which, yeah, when you start to gain traffic, things can go down, which is what I'll mention later in the talk. But yeah, I made it on stage at ETH Global, and that was amazing. So during ETH Global, there was 2 rounds of judging. Both rounds of judging, one of the judges found $5,000 or more through my platform during it. So if you can create something that has this wow factor and this immediate reward, that's going to allow people as well to just have organic, like they were excited to talk about it, be like, come try this, like to all their friends who were also in crypto. But again, what did that now allow me to see that it was missing? So when you're deeper in the ETH community, ENS is a huge thing. ENS is this .eth. You've probably seen around Vitalik.eth. This is the founder of Ethereum. It like directs or maps basically to a 0x blah 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 address, and it's really easy to support ENS, but it's not like by default really. You need to, as a developer, do this like translation basically of, okay, I've got this .eth. Now what does it translate to? So I added ENS support. So now you can come in and say Vitalik.eth. And what did I nail and do correctly with this ENS support? And what did I do incorrectly in this ENS support? This is back to the like responding to a stimulus, deciding if it was a perfect response or what could be improved about this response. Again, I made no wallet interaction. Now this is normally where you have a wallet interaction. If you actually go to the ENS website, you cannot check what an ENS name redirects to unless you connect with MetaMask, which is crazy because if we want this to be the translation layer on the web, the people coming to the ENS website don't always have MetaMask. So do this translation on the back end. So this is now something that my API limits are being used up in order to do this. And now we're about to reach some of the scale issues that I had mentioned before. We're not at scale yet. So this is why it's only relevant now. But boom, we nailed that. There was no wallet integration, so it was fast. Infura is like the go-to for this. Infura is actually what MetaMask uses when you want to do anything with Ethereum. So MetaMask is using that to go check your wallet balances, to submit transactions and whatnot. So I used Infura, highly recommend them. They work really well. But there's actually API limits around Infura. And now is where we get to the scale question, or the scale issue. Again, I'm launching features, announcing them, launching features, announcing them. And later on in this timeline, which we will not talk about in the slide deck, consider launching features, doing surveys on Twitter, like the question polls. Those polls create not only a lot of engagement, so people are interested in, oh, what is he going to do? Or what is she going to do to this question? But then it also allows people to suggest the next features. So recently, I've literally just put up like, I think like these 3 things should probably be done soon on Earnify. What does everyone think should be done next? And then whatever just gets first place, that's what I do next. And people are really happy about this ability to interact with your product, but also then you're building stuff people actually like. So I announced it. Awesome, right? But when you announce it, oh, sorry, I'm doing the code thing again. When you announce things and you're doing okay with your following and whatnot, which I was at this point, you get a lot of traffic. So now I'm actually hitting the API limits. I've used up all requests that I'm allowed to use up with Infura. That's a big problem, because then when you put in an ENS name, you just get a red warning, and you get nothing. That's a really poor user experience. So if you're going to support something, you want to support it in a way that's scalable. So here's a really hacky way that I got around this, because again, I'm hacking my way to a big company. How do you do it alone? Well, you have to be really scrappy sometimes. So I went in and created 4 free Infura accounts and did a random generator, a random choice between these 5. So I went from 500,000 limit, I went from 100,000 limit per day to 500,000 limit per day in like 3 minutes of work. And yeah, this is sketchy. But like that's also the point, is that like you don't have to be really polished and perfect in anything, but also if you were to look at the code base behind some of the biggest websites you use, who knows how clean it is? Who knows how well it works? Like this worked for months for me. And so this is something to consider, like how high quality of a solution do you really need? Do you need to just solve the problem? Which I did. People just wanted their ENS names resolved. Like when you put in Vitalik.eth, where are his airdrops waiting? Boom, fixes ENS, done. Now we get to some really interesting ones, right? So all along here now, we're about a month into this process. We just skipped forward like several weeks of just launching features, adding new airdrops all the time, making sure the website was up all the time as traffic's hitting it. But now, when you start to become a little bit more legit, you actually have copyright issues and you have income. How do you start making money from this? So it was actually at the ETH Global event I decided to go full time on this. And this is full time with $0 still at this point in the story. So how do you start to do these two things for the things that you're launching and that you care about? Well, so copyright. This company, so it's called Claimable, my product. You probably saw that in some of the screenshots. It was called Claimable, but this is a screenshot from the Claimable offices, which is not me. It's a company in the UK, and apparently people don't like it when you use their name. And so he sent me a question like, hey, why are there so many people sending us spammy crypto stuff all of a sudden? A lot of it's in French, and I was just like, I don't know. I didn't realize I had French users, but now I know I have French users. So this is the same thing of responding like, does my website translate right in French? I don't know. Like you want to respond to these things, which, yeah. So I responded to this by changing my company name. Went from Claimable to Earnify. Boom, copyright's done. Next up is income. How do you make money off stuff? So what I did is I created a paywall. So when you have an airdrop waiting, you can click here, and then this takes you to the pricing page. Yes, we hate paywalls. Yes, this is about Web3 and the open internet. But also, we like scalable business models because then you're not the customer. If you're paying for something, your data is not being sold. If you're paying for something, you're going to get out of it what you expect, you hope. And if you don't, stop paying for it. So that's how Earnify works. You can pay to get these things revealed. So here's a quick screenshot of the payment page. I'm going to go over the UI real quick of what was nailed on this. You got this pink border. The width of the premium is actually wider than the free tier. So that's something you don't always notice right away. This drop shadow is thicker. These buttons are primary. This one's a secondary hollow button. So all these things really draw your eyes here. So boom, I went over that just now. And because the pricing tier was pretty expensive, it creates just diehard customers. So this is the last thing I'm going to mention about the pricing. If you have an expensive tier, the people who use your product will either absolutely love it or quit early. That's a really good thing, because then you're not stuck in the middle of high demand customers who aren't paying you much. You can pay a lot of attention, and I can always know that someone who pays for my product is worth my time. There's not as many of them, and as soon as I was getting too many customers to handle, I increased the price. So consider this as well for creating a high quality product. People know they're not going to get some spammy, crazy airdrop stuff with me. It's only legit airdrop notifications. This guy's like, holy shit, guys, this is legit. I just paid $250 for 30 grand. Yeah, 250 sounded like an expensive tier on Earnify before this slide. But now when you see people get this much, that's amazing. And so here's the step. What do you do next? Someone just tweeted about me. Amplify it. Retweet it, and put all of the people tweeting about you on one page on your site. Now you've got the social proof. People can go to each of these people in real life on Twitter and just message them. Hey, was that legit? None of these people are paid. Just amplify their ideas. Boom, fixes. And then we had the 100K day. I'm actually going to skip over this, but this was about scalability. 100,000 people visited the site in a day, and there's crazy stuff you have to do to end up hitting that and performing for them. Publish to open source. I'm running out of time. That's why I'm skipping so quickly. Publishing to open source really allows people to discover you and use your stuff, but also it's a very generous, kind thing to do in this world because we're all using Web3 products that are open source and shared. And so even if you're running a private code base like I am, as much of it as possible I put here open source for other people to see and use. Write some tests, teach people about your product. And, oh yeah, okay, so here's the summary. Here's the things to avoid. So we went over a lot of things that you should do correctly, right? What do you avoid? Well, I choose to avoid Discord. That's really unusual in the crypto space. I do not use Discord. I hate Discord. It is such a time drain. How many of you have spent like years of your life at this point on Discord? And airdrops in particular, they're so spammy if you don't have someone filtering this quality the way that my product does. So if I were to have an airdrop Discord, that just sounds like a nightmare to me. Like think of how much spam would be posted in that. Zero Discord. When people ask for one and I tell them this, no, I cannot continue to provide a quality, non-spammy product with a Discord. Thank you for your interest. Maybe there'll be a community one day of a different style. Avoid the overly needy customers. We talked about this with the pricing. Avoid tech debt. I skipped some of those slides, but make sure you're adding tests, strongly typed code base, whatnot, as you scale up. So again, this talk was more about the origins of the starting of a company, but that really matters as you scale up and grow. And then the summary of what you to do correct. Make it easy to use. Make sure that the UI is clean. We talked about the colors and the borders. Make it really performant so it loads quickly. Make it stand out. This is different, right? This is a thing that, yeah, it's in the airdrop space, but it's really non-spammy. Make it welcoming, so these colors are fun and playful. There's more information you can learn and read as you are on this. Give back through GitHub, open source projects, make some co-op tokens, free. Those are free NFTs for people. And avoid Discord. And then if you nail all these things, you might find some success like I did. 150,000 subscribers, over 1,000 airdrops on my platform. And this was done on Monday, but as of today, $86 million was airdropped to people, or was notified. People were notified of that. Thank you, and thank you to everyone subscribed. And then, yeah, you can scan this for both the slides, my Twitter, the company Twitter, and to check yourself for some airdrops. Thank you.